Well, we're excited to welcome students back for the start of school on August 24th, and some of the safety precautions that we're putting in place begin with lowering the density in our buildings. So one of the main things that we're doing is trying to keep students 6 feet away. So we'll reduce class size by going to a 2-day-a-week hybrid. Half of our students will come Monday, Tuesday. Half of our students will come Thursday and Friday. Wednesday will be for a deep cleaning day between cohorts that would come in. That allows for multiple things to take place. Students to keep that safe distance, classrooms to be more socially distanced, lunchrooms to be more socially distanced, hallways to be more socially distanced, as well as that deep cleaning to happen. And then we all are requiring masks of all students and staff that enter our buildings and that are on our campuses in order to ensure that everyone stays safe. We are requiring them to wear them at all times, right? So this is a full masking expectation while you're on our campuses in order, unless there is some kind of medical condition that would keep that from happening, and then there's processes that we would go through. But students will need to stay masked, and so will staff. Well, for the entire reentry plan, this started really back in June with 4 work groups that came together made up of members of our community, both internal and external, and health professionals. And they really dug into what are the ways that we want to reopen school. Everybody desires a 5-day instructional week, kind of back to where we were, what normal was, but also knew that we needed contingency plans because of growing health concerns regarding the pandemic, and so that we could adjust quickly. So we are opening in what we kind of call contingency 1, which is a reduced density model that allows for more safe socially distancing, and we'll review whether or not we can shift to a 5-day instructional model at the end of first quarter. The other thing that we are also allowing is parents to choose to go full virtual, right? So if they still have concerns about being in the school even 2 days a week, or maybe students have some health conditions that would prevent them from wanting to be in that scenario, they can choose full virtual. So 25% of our students have elected to take a full virtual instructional model for the first semester, which leaves us about 75% of our students that will be in our schools as we start August 24th. I think the key is that there is no way to please everyone in this scenario. There are very distinct and different views. What we've tried to do is act in the best interest of our students and our staff and our community, knowing that education is critically important to our kids, and we want them in our buildings, but we want to do it in the most safe manner for both them, their families, and our staff, so that we can stay open this fall. Yeah, so it depends if they're on campus, right? When we learn that they have some symptoms, and or if we just get a note basically from a parent that says, hey, my student has tested positive. But in each of those scenarios, we have protocols built. We have a nurse on staff that knows exactly what to do with those students and how to get them, if they're symptomatic, to a test, right, quickly, off-site, as part of our partnership with other health providers. And then if we learn from off-site that someone maybe was on our campus that had symptoms or has tested positive, then we work with our contact tracing team, determine who needs to be quarantined, communicate to those people in partnership with the health department, and make sure that we can reopen that building or that classroom safely the next day. It would be the protocols determined by the health department, and typically right now we're seeing those as 14-day quarantines. But we would follow their direction on the length of the quarantine necessary based on the exposure. Just like any expectation of a dress code ordinance that we have in our schools, right? We expect our students to wear shoes every day and come appropriately dressed. This is just going to be another expectation of what you wear when you come to our schools in order to ensure that we have a safe learning environment. One of the benefits of going to this reduced density model, the hybrid approach, is that reduces the number of kids that we have to transport on a daily basis, because we're only bringing in a portion of our population. So that means we can more appropriately socially distance on buses. There'll be full masking, there'll be sanitization practices. We'll be loading from back to front and trying to keep distancing, putting families together so that we can make sure our transportation system is safe also. Daily cleaning has always been part of our practice. We're obviously ratcheting up some of our cleaning, but we'll do deep cleaning on Wednesdays. That goes above and beyond our daily procedures, because as we're shifting cohorts, we know those are different populations coming in. So our custodial staff, as well as other support staff, will be deployed on Wednesdays for that deep cleaning. We've heard obviously a mix of emotions when it comes to this, that I need my kid in school 5 days a week, to I'm scared to come to my work environment. Each one of those scenarios, we try to communicate why we're doing what we're doing, the precautions that we're putting in place. Also, if some of our teachers have health conditions, just like some of our students, we've allowed for some virtual placement, right? Because some of our students, 25%, have moved to virtual instruction. So we've tried to align where those healthcare needs might prevent a staff member from being able to come back to work so that they could work remotely. But that's looked at on a case-by-case basis. And then we also make sure our teachers know that we're going to provide them the appropriate things in their classroom, the appropriate training, and hold our students and all other staff accountable for following those procedures so that schools are safe. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we've had some teachers that have done that for quite some time. We've had virtual instruction in SPS for years and years, and some have done that full-time, some have done part-time. We've selected some to do that even more this year as more students have moved to that, and we're excited to see them serve kids in this new format. Our hope, right, is that no matter what happens through this pandemic and as we reopen school, we know that there's going to be an occasional quarantine, maybe of a classroom or a teacher or some students, but we want them supported day after day after day to have consistency in their learning. So the design is that we have built up and spent time this summer on our instructional design and our curriculum and our learning management system so that we can move in 24 hours notice, so that if a student has to quarantine, they have access to learning the next day. They don't have to wait 2 weeks to come back in order to restart their learning. And the same thing, for students obviously virtually at home, they will have that guaranteed consistent 24 hours. But for in-person learning, there may be some shifts from day to day. And we want to make sure that those students are supported. Yeah, we can make that adjustment, and we can do it relatively quickly at this point because that's the instructional design that we've developed over the summer. And that's how our teachers are being trained. That's what this week is about, is making sure you're ready for your students when they come back, and that you're ready to change modes of instruction on a daily basis based on what comes our way. The good news is that the district's committed to making sure that every student has what they need to function in a virtual environment. So every student will be provided a device as well as internet access if they do not have home internet access. So we have hotspots. We have Chromebooks and we have iPads that are being deployed to all students. Those are being handed out as we speak for anybody that didn't have one from last year. But we want to ensure that technology is not a barrier, access to internet is not a barrier to your learning. Overall, I would just want the community to know that we can't wait to see your students, whether that's in a virtual format or in an in-person format beginning next week. Our teachers are so excited about the opportunity to serve. That's why they got into this business, and we can't wait to see them get started with kids on August 24th.